Morning, everyone, and welcome to First Pitch 2022. There we go, a little bit louder. So we didn't get to have this event last year, so we're really excited that it's back. Just for any of you that are new, First Pitch is a MBA-style case competitions where graduate students across MBAs, Masters of Sports Management programs are able to come here and compete. So we provide a case prompt, which I'll go over in just a second, but I do want to make mention of just how many sports professionals' careers actually started right here on this stage. So through the planning of this event, I actually got to speak with several of our previous winners now who are working for various sports organizations across the industry. So I just want to say for the contestants today, we expect to see great things from you in the future. Next, I want to quickly say thank you to our sponsor, Sponsor Pulse. So this event would not have been possible without them. I also want to make special mention of Eddie, who I've worked with there. He's been fantastic throughout the entire process and helped to put this case together. So I want to touch on this year's case, which is really focused on identifying creative, high-impact, and net new sponsorship opportunities for a couple select properties. So the properties this year were the NBA, the National Women's Soccer League, the WNBA, the Seattle Seahawks, or the Portland Trail Blazers. So we received quite a few submissions, but the three teams you're going to hear from today are USC, UCLA, and Duke. Now, I do want to make mention of a couple of games that are happening later today. One is between USC and UCLA, so this is really going to set the tone for that. UNC, unfortunately, did not make a showing here today, so Duke, I think you went ahead and ran away with that. Okay. So we've got one undergrad rep here, so you're repping for the whole team. So next, I want to introduce our amazing panel of judges who are taking time out of their day to come here and hopefully support the next generation of sports leaders. So first, I want to introduce representing our sponsor, Adam Garreau, the Chief Product Officer at Sponsor Pulse. Next, I want to introduce Neil Covant, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at Sponsor Pulse. Next, I want to introduce Davey Chadwick, who is the Director of Partnership Strategy for the Philadelphia Flyers. Next, Amanda Hebert, and I'm hoping I got the pronunciation right, thank you, who's the Senior Manager of Partnership Activation for the Denver Broncos. And then finally, Alex Kanoodle, who is the Director of Business Intelligence and Marketing Strategy for the Tennessee Titans. So a really impressive panel of judges. I'd love if we could just give it up for them real quick and thank them for their time. Finally, I just want to say a thank you to all the participants. Having a chance to look at your presentations, I can see how much time that you guys put in, and I really want to thank you for that. Finally, we're going to go ahead and kick things off, and that's hopefully the last pun from me. But Fuqua, come up, you're first at bat. Was not the last pun from me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Moore II, and I'm here with my classmate,
Pax Kaplan Sherman.
Together, we are both MBA candidates at Duke University's Fuqua School of Business, and today we'll be talking about a partnership within Niantic Labs and the Seattle Seahawks. The focus here is to connect the 12s, which is their fan base, with a more immersive and collaborative entertainment experience. So a little bit more about ourselves. Not shown here is a great collaboration between a Lakers fan, myself, and the New York Knicks. So overall, we recommend that Niantic Labs pursue to be the Seattle Seahawks corporate augmented reality sponsor. Based on our research within Sponsor Plus, but also outside research, we have clearly seen that the Seattle Seahawks fan base is one that can truly allow Niantic Labs widespread growth throughout the marketing funnel, new business opportunities, but also clear and concrete adoption within the market for their new Lightship augmented reality developer kit. So how do we get to that? And within that, we will talk about an agenda today. First, talking about why the Seahawks, the open AR category, the strong potential within the fan base, and the overall cultural fit. From there, I will segue over to our second part with my classmate Pax to talk about activation. So why the Seahawks? When we were looking at the Seattle Seahawks, we looked at three main areas around category openness, tech early adoption, and the overall fan base within the Seattle Seahawks, the 12s. So when looking at the overall category, we see within augmented reality various NFL and NBA teams. Specifically, we can talk about the Carolina Panthers, who truly had that very nice augmented panther hopping around the stadium that I believe some of you all saw. With this new technology that they're pulling out, but also tons of competitors, we truly see a clear space that can be tapped into and that the Seattle Seahawks currently right now are not really buying into and fully utilizing. So within that, we want to do a deep dive into the club partners that they have. So we looked at club partners, but also technology partners. And we did this deep dive. We saw that they have some great partners that are adding value, but also there's nothing in the AR space. So when we looked at that, we tried to do a deeper dive, and we saw that the Extreme Networks and Verizon are truly allowing them to have a stronger capacity within Wi-Fi and also cellular capabilities inside the stadium. And we think that is a huge plus. As we further did our research, we saw that there was a project in 2017 around AI, but at the time, the technology was not as developed as it currently is, and we truly feel as though there's untapped potential in this market that can truly allow for the dynamic Niantic Labs technology. So next, we'll move over to tech early adoption, and what we see here is Microsoft and Amazon being key players within the Seattle market that are currently truly allowing the individuals there to be early adopters of technology, as you see across the board, from touchless checkout lines for various Amazon properties, but also just the great environment that Seattle offers for being an outdoor city. Also, we have some information that we'll talk about a little bit about Sponsor Plus and what we're seeing around the dynamics of the overall fan base. And next, within that fan base, you have individuals that want to be really engaged off the field. And what we see there is with the Seattle Seahawks sandbox platform, which you're getting a lot of buy-in from the esports category. So right here, let's dive into some more of the Sponsor Pulse data. And what we see here is 85% or greater within opportunity score, engagement score, and the overall excitement score on the left-hand side. And you all right now, I don't know what this is. I don't even have seen Sponsor Plus. Well, what this is truly telling you is that the Seattle fan base is engaged, strong, but also they really buy into supporting services and products that they're being offered as a fan. On the right-hand side, we're truly tapping into understanding more about the fan base. What are their likes? What do they do? And what we saw is that these individuals, a high percentage, play video games, they watch YouTube, but most importantly, they're purchasers of consumer electronics across the board. Moving into the next category, so far you all have seen a little bit about the fan base. Let's talk about from a corporate category and brand fit. And we're looking at, okay, Niantic Labs, they have a lot with Pokemon Go. They're doing some stuff right now at PGA Tour. Will the Seattle Seahawks have the appetite to do this? And what we found is that the COO of the Seattle Seahawks wants to build new technology to engage with individuals off the field. And we saw that as a huge plus. Also, Niantic Labs is seeing some popularity within the success of Pokemon Go and the Junior PGA Tour application, and they're looking to increase adoption. And what we saw is that through the augmented reality developer kit, they're looking to get more institutions on board. And we said, I think the Seattle Seahawks could be that partner. And lastly, the city as a whole, outdoor city, the augmented reality about getting out. And we saw with Seattle being an outdoor city and resources, this could be a great fit. Next, we wanted to figure out what are some other use cases happening around the world. And we look at that. We see various categories that we have on the top of this chart around event marketing, outdoor marketing, such as scan banners, and logo promotions. And so what does that look like? If you have a sports team, mine is the Los Angeles Lakers, and if you have an augmented reality and you put that next to the logo, a video shows up. It gives more of the experience to the overall brand, and that's what we're seeing across from Europe and here in the US. But with Niantic, this is so much more. If any of you all have any friends that have ever worked with Pokemon Go, you know that people love this device, and we truly believe that the intellectual property that you have with Seattle Seahawks and the value of the Niantic's brand and their sponsorship can truly allow for more immersive and creative experience for all. And so we highlight here is that you can have various elements around event marketing, outdoor marketing, but also logo promotions with embedded videos with the Niantic's and Seattle Seahawks partnership. Now, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Pax. Talk a little bit more about some of the activation.
Thanks, Sean. So as Sean just talked through, there's a whole host of ways which different sports properties have been leveraging augmented reality, but we really see an opportunity here to sort of run the gamut in activations from really sort of traditional sponsorship activations, all the way across the spectrum to really sort of transformative elements of a true strategic partnership. So starting on the far left, and we'll sort of talk through this, right? You can do very standard sponsorship activations, sponsored post-game social, sort of the blocking and tackling, if you will, of the sponsorship industry, basic things like this, right? Sponsored tweets, the Niantic, moment that moved us, right? Using the Niantic tagline. But, as we move forward and we sort of progress across the spectrum, right? We have more different, ideas. So you can have an in-stadium demo kiosk. So a lot of people have never tried augmented reality before. They've never experienced, some of the experiences which Niantic has to offer. Just doing something as simple as putting a demo kiosk in Lumen Field to allow people to potentially experience augmented reality for the first time. Another really great way for Niantic to activate the sponsorship. As we continue to move forward, very standard sponsorship activation. Just go back to the last one. Very standard, no, to the last one, sorry. Very standard sponsorship activation is just having signs in the stadium, right? But Niantic is an augmented reality company, so they can flip that paradigm on its head a little bit. And yes, of course, have signage in the stadium like any sponsor would, but leverage the AR technology to make that interactive signage. And when you scan the Niantic sign in Lumen Field, you get a little Seahawk that pops up and a little sort of demo of an AR experience. So leveraging that sort of standard in-stadium sponsorship asset, but sort of highlighting the benefits of AR technology. This next one, sort of as we move forward to more creative and transformative ways to activate this sponsorship, right? Niantic has a really unique opportunity for, to add value to the Seahawks by creating AR assets that could potentially be used by other sponsors. So, traditionally, going 20, 30 years back, teams only had physical sponsorship inventory to sell, right? You could sell the naming rights or you could sell a sign in the stadium. And then the digital revolution came along, and now teams could sell physical assets or they could sell digital assets, right? You could sell sponsorship on a website or a social post, things like that. Niantic has the opportunity to introduce a third asset class, if you will, right? Augmented reality sponsorship assets. So they can partner with the Seahawks to create these activations. As you see, other teams are doing this. If you want to show the Capitals piece, it's a huge industry. Lots of sports sponsorships are looking to get into AR, and the Capitals are using AR to create a little sponsorship activation for Bud Light. So Niantic can do a similar thing and create new sponsorship inventory for the Seahawks to sell to their additional corporate partners, really bringing unique value to this partnership. As we look back at this spectrum and continue to look at new activations that Niantic could really use to leverage their partnership with the Seahawks, and this is the last one and the big one we want to talk about. Niantic is known for Pokemon Go, right? That is sort of your shining achievement as a company to date, and we think we could replicate something similar with the Seattle Seahawks. So we have an idea called Emerald Quest, which is essentially a Pokemon Go style app which could commemorate Seahawks legends and also really drive download and usage of Niantic products and activate the Seahawks fan base, the 12s, throughout the Seattle community and really get them on their feet, get them moving around, and get them sort of feeling like a Seahawks fan, not only when they're in the stadium, but the whole time. And of course, for Niantic, right, this is driving downloads and usage of the apps. And just a really sort of transformative way to approach a partnership. So we're not just talking about in-stadium signage and social posts, but really sort of thinking of new ways that, you guys, Niantic, could partner with a property and really do some things which are unique and different. But obviously, when you're thinking about something like this, you want to make sure it's going to drive impact, right? And we really do think that this partnership could drive impact up and down the marketing funnel. So when we think about sponsorship in a traditional sense, right? Its primary purpose has usually been to drive awareness, right? You sponsor a sign in a stadium, you sponsor a team, people are now more aware of your brand. And we still think that's going to be the case here. We can accomplish that using a lot of our more traditional assets, right? The sponsored social post, the in-stadium signage, and it's a huge opportunity. So using Sponsor Pulse data, the Seahawks have the fourth most engaged fan base of any sports team on Sponsor Pulse, right? Over 90 million people are engaged Seahawks fans. So the opportunity for Niantic to drive awareness is simply massive. As we progress down the funnel, right, there's opportunity to drive trial, right? So as I mentioned, a lot of people have not used augmented reality technology before. They've never experienced what Niantic has to offer. By putting an in-stadium demo kiosk for people to potentially have that first AR experience, you're driving trial of AR experiences and trial of Niantic experiences, sort of progressing people down the marketing funnel, right, and driving value that way. And in terms of the size of the opportunity, just for an in-stadium demo kiosk, right, Lumen Field hosts 576,000 people just in the regular season every year. Right. I imagine many of them may have never tried AR before and are ripe to sort of have this first initial trial opportunity, and perhaps they will fall in love with the technology and become avid users of Niantic apps and experiencers of Niantic experiences. As we progress further down the funnel, I want to talk about consideration, and this is really more on that B2B opportunity I was referencing within the sports sponsorship space, right? This could make a splash within our industry, within the sports sponsorship industry. This sponsorship can make news and make sports properties aware of the technology that Niantic has to offer and open up an entire new revenue line and being a key technology enabler within the sports sponsorship space, allowing Niantic to essentially serve sports teams across the globe by creating AR sports sponsorship inventory for them to sell to other sponsors, right? So this is opening up an entirely new line of business. Niantic is now not only creating apps for consumers to download, but is also creating, assets for sports teams to buy, right? So it's an entirely new revenue line that they're going to start driving consideration for by entering the sports sponsorship economy here. And lastly, of course, we want to talk about conversion. Ultimately, Niantic's core business is still, having consumers participate in these experiences, right? And so by launching this Emerald Quest app, we're going to activate 7.5 million passionate Seahawks fans. Again, that's a Sponsor Pulse number. Out of these 93 million fans, 7.5 million are highly passionate fans. The majority of them live in the Seattle area. Right? And these people are going to be ripe prospects to potentially download and become sort of daily users of Niantic apps, which is exactly what they're looking for, right? You guys are looking to partner with new IP that has passionate fans who want to engage with the property in new and creative ways on a daily basis, and that is what the Seahawks can offer you in a partner, right? These 7.5 million local fans, we're going to go around Seattle, exploring the city, through the lens of Emerald Quest, a Niantic-powered app. So ultimately, we really do believe that this partnership can drive value for Niantic up and down the marketing funnel, and ultimately provide the 12s a new way to engage and provide an immersive and collaborative entertainment experience for the 12s, as well as, of course, most importantly, driving value for yourselves, Niantic. I'm happy to take any questions, and thank you so much for your time.
So we can go ahead and get started with the next team. I want to thank you guys. Amazing presentation, and thank you for keeping us on time. All right, so next we have the team from the USC Marshall School of Business. Make sure we've got, yep. All right, give them a hand. So green to go forward, red to go back. Got it. All right, good luck, guys.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. I'm Madison, and I'm here with my colleagues Timmy and Jenna from the USC Marshall School of Business. We are excited to talk to you today about a dynamic new sponsorship opportunity within the WNBA. And over the next 15 minutes, it's going to become abundantly clear that Gillette Venus is the perfect new sponsor for our league. When we look at where the WNBA is today, it's important to note that our league is comprised of 12 teams 7 of which are independently owned, and 5 of which share ownership with an NBA team. These teams are located in large market cities like Los Angeles and Atlanta, meaning that these teams have the opportunity to attract a large number of fans to each game. When we think about the typical WNBA fan, 66% of our current fans are men over the age of 35. Given the large market cities of our teams, it's really important to note that we have a growing opportunity to engage with women and younger fans. Most importantly, our league is growing at a tremendous rate, with general awareness increasing from 800,000 to over 2 billion in the 5 years leading up to the COVID-19 pandemic. And most importantly, people are investing in our league. We've seen investments from both venture capital and private equity reach $4.5 billion, pointing to exciting new opportunities as we move forward. Beyond the numbers, our league is committed to a number of strategic priorities that are really revolutionizing diversity, equity, inclusion. Most prominently is our new Changemakers program that's focused on elevating women and minorities through sports. We've already enlisted several key sponsors that are helping us revolutionize our fan, player, and community experiences. Beyond that, we're really focused in women in sports and investing in women. We have started to run clinics and skills camps in many of our cities that are focused on engaging with younger fans and primarily focused on uplifting women and helping them reach their full potential through sport. Lastly, we're really committed to sustainable growth. As I mentioned, we're seeing impressive increases in outside investments in our league, but we continue to place importance on engaging with new fans, most prominently women and younger fans, to ensure that this impressive growth continues. When we look at our current sponsor mix, we see sponsors from key industries including food and beverage, hospitality, entertainment, and financial services. But most prominently, I want to highlight our Changemaker sponsors, Google, Deloitte, and Dick's Sporting Goods. These sponsors are each tasked with supporting key pillars of our Changemaker program, with Google supporting fan experiences, Deloitte supporting internal league transformation, and Dick's Sporting Goods supporting apparel and equipment. These Changemakers are really focused on helping us drive our overall initiative of change in our communities and making a lasting impact within the DE&I initiative of our league. When we think about the WNBA in comparison to similar both men's and women's leagues in the National Women's Soccer League and in the NBA, it's important to note that we are a leader in women's sports in terms of viewership and fan engagement. Additionally, we are building a strategy that's truly surrounding DE&I and community inclusion, whereas our counterparts in the NWSL are dealing with scandals and handling the exit of certain sponsors. When we think about the NBA, our numbers aren't quite as impressive in terms of viewership and fan engagement, but it's also important to note that our sponsor mix is slightly less saturated than the NBA, making us a truly unique and valuable experience and league to sponsor for companies.
All right, so P&G, Gillette Venus, the next WNBA changemaker. So you're likely wondering why P&G's brand, Gillette Venus, should partner with the WNBA. Well, first, there's a shared target market. Although P&G has gravitated away from traditional demographics such as age towards smart audiences such as young millennials, young professionals, and first-time mothers, judging from your earnings calls as well as Gillette Venus's marketing practices, we've identified your target consumer to be the following. She identifies as a woman between the ages 17 and 35 and likely resides in an urban setting. She's multicultural and is deeply concerned on a multitude of social impact issues such as sustainability and creating safe spaces for marginalized communities. She actively advocates for women's rights and doesn't necessarily fall into stereotypical advertising practices, meaning she may have large tattoos, she may have large piercings, and she may have varying skin pigmentation. Your target consumer, the one which is proudly exemplified and empowered in the My Skin, My Way campaign, is the WNBA. It's Sue Bird who partners with Z-Girls, an organization that empowers young female athletes to be leaders on and off the court. It's the Atlanta Dream, a WNBA team which advocated for the BLM movement despite challenges from local leaders and even their state senators. It's our corporate professionals, our players, but most importantly, it's our fans. It's the people that we engage and are asking to join our community and share in this conversation. Additionally, there is a brand alignment. There are clear parallels between the messages our company and Gillette Venus are trying to send. Through the My Skin, My Way campaign, Gillette Venus has celebrated the inspirational stories of women who've turned their skin into movements of positivity. Recently, you featured 3 women. One is Slee, who's an African woman who combated colorism in her community, Ofe, who provided us details about her journey with albinism, and finally Keisha, who struggled to see her C-section scar as a symbol of beauty. Gillette Venus has empowered these particular women, as well as their consumers, by reiterating that Gillette Venus as a company stands for body and skin positivity. As a WNBA changemaker, Gillette Venus can continue this conversation and continue to advocate for change while aligning with one of the largest televised women's sporting associations. You'll have access to our corporate professionals, our locations, and our players. As Ineka Ogumeki says, she's the forward of the Los Angeles Sparks as well as the president of the Players Association, activism is in the WNBA's DNA. So we envision this partnership to have 3 initial activation points. First is broadcasting. Of course, we expect regular broadcasting during televised games for the WNBA, as well as our social media promoting campaigns. Besides the My Skin, My Way campaign, which I previously alluded to, we've also recognized that you have your Put Your Skin in the Game campaign, which is currently being led by Olympic surfer Carissa Moore. As a WNBA partner, you'll have access to our star athletes. You'll have access to Tia Cooper, Candace Parker, Sue Bird, each commanding above 500,000 Instagram followers and millions of social media impressions, meaning you'll have access to our stars to not only market your product, but to share your brand message. Furthermore, and as we've highlighted before, we hope to announce Gillette Venus as one of our newest WNBA changemakers. We have several sponsors such as Google and Deloitte who currently help us with internal and external initiatives that advocate for change and social justice, but also help with the growth of the WNBA. We currently have a white space in fan engagement and truly believe that we can position Gillette Venus to not only continue this conversation around body and skin positivity, but to also create events that will bring new fans to the WNBA. And then finally, and our crown jewel of the partnership, will be the WNBA Game Day presented by Gillette Venus. Jenna will provide you more details.
Thanks, Timmy. So as Timmy mentioned, we're pitching that the flagship event for this partnership be the WNBA's Game Day, presented by Gillette Venus. This fan engagement event will occur 3 times during the regular season, at least for the first year, and coincide with nationally broadcasted games of medium to large market-sized teams. If we were to launch this initiative today, we'd recommend games like the Minnesota Lynx versus the Seattle Storm, the Mystics versus the Aces, and the Wings versus the Mercury, mainly because these are some of the more marketable teams within the NBA currently, and they will also have heightened fan engagement due to being aired on large TV networks like ESPN. Game Day, presented by Gillette Venus, will really be a fan festival celebrating the WNBA and bringing in new and old fans to really engage with Gillette Venus and the WNBA as a whole. This event will have family-friendly activities such as meet and greets with star athletes that allow friends and family alike to really meet the team and coaching staff and obtain photos and autographs, as well as a child play zone where really all ages can compete in basketball-related games like the popular arcade game Pop-A-Shot or other basketball skills games like Knockout. We'd also have areas dedicated towards honoring the rich traditions and histories of the WNBA, like a trophy display, a WNBA shop, and a WNBA highlights reel. Upon conclusion of the event, we think it'd be a great idea to allow attendees to create their own sample or goodie bag, primarily made up of Gillette Venus and other P&G products, as well as selected WNBA memorabilia to really help them remember the event. In totality, we really think that this event will be mutually beneficial for both parties in engaging our target audience. Through our research on Sponsor Pulse, we found that younger demographics actually show heightened engagement and intensity towards our brand, whereas the older demographics show heightened levels and interest in purchasing brands associated with our league. with this information in mind, we really think that the best strategy is to engage our younger demographics in the sport to really create lifelong fans while providing Gillette Venus and possibly P&G down the line the ability to promote their new and existing products. With that in mind, like I said, this sponsorship is not only going to help Gillette Venus achieve its brand and social objectives, but it's also going to make financial sense. So in determining the opportunity for this event, we looked at 3 key metrics. 1, how many customers would be more likely to purchase Gillette Venus due to their sponsorship of the WNBA? 2, how many customers would have a more favorable view of the brand because of their sponsorship? And 3, with those numbers, what's a rough top-line revenue forecast for how much Gillette Venus can expect, assuming only 1 brand purchased a year? With that in mind, we forecasted that about 5.8 million fans will be more likely to purchase Gillette Venus due solely to their sponsorship of the WNBA. Additionally, 5.5 million fans will have a more favorable view of the brand because of their sponsorship. We want to call out that these numbers are only for the first year, and we do see significant growth down the line as this partnership matures across the 5-year time horizon. With all these numbers in mind, we've forecasted that Gillette Venus can expect just under $450 million in top-line revenue across the 5-year time commitment, assuming that each of those 5.8 million customers buy just once a year. And with this, we also think it's important to determine how many people we expect at our Fan Fest festival. With that, we expect about 20,000 fans to attend the first year's festivities, with continued growth as more people become aware of the event. We really find that this event is going to help not only create genuine interest in our brand and will align in both P&G's and WA's brand messaging and our target audience, but it's really going to help us engage our existing fan group and allow increased purchase intent for Gillette Venus down the line. So with that, we really thank you for your time today, and we look forward to a joint partnership between the WNBA and Gillette Venus in the future. We'd be happy to take any questions you have. Thank you.
All right, doesn't seem like we have any questions. Thank you, guys. Great job. All right, so we have our final team from UCLA about to join us here. I do want to mention that they requested walk-up music, but unfortunately we were not able to get the rights to the Chicago Bulls theme song, so my apologies on that, guys. But if you can, give them a hand for the team from UCLA.
Testing. That's perfect. It's time to wake up and pay attention. As many of us are aware, the marketing sponsorship industry has undergone seismic changes since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Whether it's finding new and innovative ways to engage with existing customers or tapping into new segments, there are opportunities to build brand engagement. Sorry. No, we're getting the slides. We're good. I'm sorry. There's opportunities to continue to build that brand engagement. These changes have shifted consumer expectations, and whether you like it or not, newly developed ideas and approaches are here to stay. One trend that's certainly not going anywhere is the growth and development of women's sports. Angela Ruggiero, who's previously spoken at this conference, and who some of you may know as a Hockey Hall of Famer, helps the world's leading sports organizations build better fan engagement and shared these words: even if you're never going to invest in women's sports, you have to pay attention to what we're doing, because they're out there and they're building these communities and monetizing sports in a new and different way. My name is Kendall Brown, and I'm joined by my teammates Mickey Ingerman and Michael Kirchner, and we're proud to represent the UCLA Anderson School of Management. Given these recent trends and the opportunity to capture value in underserved segments, we are very excited to represent the National Women's Soccer League. The NWSL is made up of 12 teams across the United States and has recently focused on expansion efforts, as shown by its entry into the Los Angeles and San Diego markets. While global superstars such as Alex Morgan and Marta are the face of the league, young and developing players such as Rose Lavelle have added to recent growth. Before we dive in further, we wanted to share some things that you should know about the NWSL. First is media rights. The league recently struck deals with Paramount Plus and Twitch, which will provide fans with the opportunity to watch every game throughout the course of the season, which is a big change from the previous agreement with ESPN, which only broadcasted select games. These media rights have resulted in increased viewership. Last year's league championship was the most watched championship match in league history, so more and more fans are watching the game. The last item we'll touch on here is investment. Individual clubs have received an influx of capital from women influencers with sports and non-sports backgrounds. With stars like Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka on board, the game is destined for growth. Next, I'll hand it over to my teammate Michael to go into further detail.
I also go by Michael. So thanks, Kendall, by the way. Before we dive into the specific strengths of the NWSL, I just want to reiterate what Kendall had said, and that is that women's sports across the globe are receiving significantly more investment and attention from sponsors. According to Nielsen, global sponsorship investment in women's sports grew nearly 150% last year. So while this may be a case where a rising tide is lifting all boats, we believe the NWSL has some unique advantages. So as we dove into the strengths of the NWSL, we wanted to evaluate how it compared to other prominent women's sports organizations. Using Sponsor Pulse, we observed that it compared quite favorably to both the WNBA and WTA, despite being a significantly younger league. The other encouraging thing is that the NWSL is gaining momentum and has no plans of slowing down. As Kendall had mentioned, this is the first time that every single one of their matches will be aired either through their streaming partner Twitch or broadcast partner. And since making that agreement, the league has continuously set viewership records. In 2020, viewership grew nearly 500% despite the COVID-19 pandemic. And as Kendall mentioned, for the 2021 final, viewership grew 216% relative to the 2019 final. That match, which averaged over 500,000 viewers, outperformed 2 MLS playoff games and a Premier League match, all of which occurred on the same weekend. Other signs of the league gaining momentum are the recently ratified collective bargaining agreement and increased investment in infrastructure to support professional women's soccer. Additionally, we believe that the league's ability to partner with these well-regarded multinational brands is a testament to the opportunity that others see in the league, but it also paves the way for the league to continue to make these types of partnerships with other international brands. From our perspective, the NWSL has done a phenomenal job of leveraging the success and popularity of the U.S. women's national team, but more broadly, the Women's World Cup. Through their on-the-field success, many of these players have garnered social media followings that reach into the hundreds of thousands and even millions. The league has harnessed this star power and has done a great job of allocating it across the league so that every team has a star player that the fans can cheer for. Now, on the last slide, I had mentioned momentum, and I would be remiss if I did not include the fact that the league is adding 2 franchises in 2 highly attractive markets in Los Angeles and San Diego. And what's even more impressive is the star-studded investor bases backing these 2 franchises. Take Angel City FC in Los Angeles, for example. They've already sold over 14,000 season tickets without playing a single match, and they're backed by soccer greats like Mia Hamm and Julie Foudy, non-soccer athletes like Candace Parker and Lindsey Vonn, and even non-athletes like Jennifer Garner, Natalie Portman, and Eva Longoria. Now, as we approach potential sponsors, we believe that the league's greatest strength is actually its fans. Over the past several years, the league has developed a fan base that is highly engaged on social media. As you can see from this first chart on the left, during this particular week in October of last year, the NWSL had 5 out of 10 of the highest engagement rates across Twitter and Instagram. And keep in mind, this is at the height of the NFL season, college football season, and Major League Baseball playoffs. So we believe that this is a crucial selling point to potential sponsors as they look for new and creative ways to engage with fans across social media. Finally, the other thing I would like to point out is the NWSL has a track record of partnering with large brands, and many of those large brands have been immediately rewarded for their partnership with the NWSL by increased spend and engagement from fans of women's sports. With that, I'd like to pass it over to Michael.
Thanks, Mickey. It's a big green button. That means go forward. So, some really exciting stuff that we've heard already today, but we want to understand right now who actually sponsors the NWSL today. Why does Coca-Cola and Body Armor represent a great opportunity? So they currently have 10 major sponsors, but they've been thoughtful about who to introduce as a partner within the soft drink and the sports drink category. These partners have traditionally focused in financial services, telecom, and media to really grow the reach of the league. But with these new streaming deals on both TV and Twitch, the reach is starting to be there. And so now we'd love to have this opportunity to partner with Coca-Cola and Body Armor to really fill these categories and make major plans in years to come and really integrate them into the process. Why should Coca-Cola and Body Armor sponsor the NWSL and partner with us? We believe there are 3 major reasons for that. First, Coca-Cola and the NWSL share a common vision. Second, NWSL fans share a strong brand affinity and connection with Coca-Cola. And we'll look at some data from sponsor polls for that. And third, Coca-Cola can add to their current reputation of being a leading partner focused on soccer organizations globally. And there's no better time for that with the World Cup and the Women's World Cup coming up in the next 2 years. So let's dive a little bit deeper into each of these. Coca-Cola's brand purpose aligns with the NWSL, especially as they enter this season with a new collective bargaining agreement. The motto, the mission of Coca-Cola, refresh the world, make a difference, resonates strongly. The NWSL is refreshing the way that they're thinking about operating with new investment, a new operating agreement, and 2 new teams in the Southern California market. NWSL players are also making a difference. The women's national team recently got equal pay with the USF, and many of those players on the U.S. women's national team are in the league currently. Finally, this goes in line with Coca-Cola's 5x20 partnership or program that looks to empower women globally, and so this is a great fit. So let's look at a couple numbers here, and I apologize if some of the charts are quite small, but I'll do my best to talk through it. So the Coca-Cola brand is strong amongst NWSL fans. Coca-Cola users are 86% more likely to be engaged with the NWSL than non-Coca-Cola users. So while other properties might have more overall fans than the NWSL, the ones that are in the NWSL and are Coca-Cola users really move the needle. So what's that mean? This partnership has more engaged folks with Coca-Cola, and we can really tap into that. Second, Coca-Cola users are the second most passionate NWSL consumer segment. That first most passionate is sports drink users. So that works great for both Coca-Cola and Body Armor. Finally, the sports drink user consumer segment has the highest level of momentum in the NWSL, expected to increase 23% over the next 12 months. And all this data is from Sponsor Pulse. It was a great resource to kind of dig into a little bit more. So the last piece we want to look at here is really cementing their status, as a soccer organization. So Coca-Cola already has partnerships with MLS, FIFA, and the World Cups. But with recent deals from PepsiCo and Gatorade with teams in the league, as well as with UEFA, this is an opportunity for the Coca-Cola and Body Armor brand to really cement their status within the United States among soccer fans. So now I'll pass it to Kendall to talk through some of the activations we're thinking about.
Thanks, Michael. So based on the alignment between Coca-Cola's and the NWSL's brand objectives, we truly do believe that there are several opportunities for traditional partnerships, such as digital on-field banners, sponsored viewing parties, and athlete spotlights. But to get value for both parties involved, we understand that we need to be creative. So we've built activations across broadcast, social, and at event, just to name a few. Starting with awards sponsored by Coca-Cola. These awards will be shared during broadcasts on social media platforms and directly in the NWSL app, which is gaining traction. Typical awards could include Community Champion, similar to the NFL's Walter Payton Man of the Year, Team of the Month, and Goal of the Week. From the NWSL's perspective, this is really going to build awareness of league talent, and for Coca-Cola, it's going to build awareness of their brand across these different platforms. As Mickey mentioned, there is an opportunity to leverage the strong engagement that the NWSL currently has on social media, and this activation leans into something that is already there. And we know that this is something that already works. Budweiser's NWSL Woman of the Match campaign actually garnered over 4.6 million impressions and $137,000 in social value. Our next activation is Beyond the Pitch, presented by Body Armor. Beyond the Pitch is a YouTube video series that follows players' lives off the field. Potential topics could include being a mom, as you see Alex Morgan with her daughter there, the fight for equal pay, which has obviously been a recent issue in the women's sports game, and preparation for World Cup qualifying. This activation would ultimately increase player relatability, which we have found is key to driving growth for a professional sports league. And more importantly, the key point here is that this activation is going to maintain year-round continuity of fan engagement. We found that 60% of fans who have a year-round experience are more likely to be engaged in the coming season, and this opportunity provides them for this activation provides them for an opportunity to do that. We briefly touched on, going into untapped segments. And we know that the young woman segment from a consumer perspective is currently untapped. This activation provides Body Armor with an opportunity to reach this segment through partnerships and sponsorships that other properties currently do not have. Next is a way for fans to digitally engage with Coca-Cola products and the NWSL. The idea here is that fans would search for Coca-Cola products and scan a QR code, and through that QR code, they could vote for some of the awards that we mentioned. They could interact with the NWSL on social media, and they could engage with the game via emerging technologies. To reward fans who would engage with this activation most, Coca-Cola product giveaways will be provided at premier games and tournaments like the Challenge Cup and the Championship. This activation would ultimately promote awareness of Coca-Cola's family of products, but more importantly, it's going to drive purchase consideration for NWSL fans. And lastly, we have the All-Star Weekend. The NWSL has seen that their Challenge Cup, which is an in-season tournament, has been successful in maintaining player and community engagement. So the NWSL currently does not have an All-Star Weekend, and we've seen across a number of other sports how this has been able to be effective from a league and a sponsorship perspective. So the idea here is that Coca-Cola would sponsor this all-star match, and the match would be played against other top international all-star teams. So think Liga MX Femenil and the FA Women's Super League. And what this would ultimately do for the NWSL and Coca-Cola is raise global awareness of their brands. At this event could also be an opportunity for Coca-Cola to test new products. Recently, Coca-Cola launched the announcement of a Starlight product. So this could be an opportunity to get fan and consumer feedback on some of those new products that they're looking to enter market with. But we really see this All-Star Weekend as being bigger than just the game. It's an opportunity to engage fans, having a fan experience that would include penalty kicks, crossbar challenges, and agility course. This really allows the NWSL and Coca-Cola to engage with local communities. So think about youth soccer organizations that may be located in cities where the NWSL has teams. And lastly, to promote the Body Armor product, fan participants who perform well during these experiences would be gifted with free giveaways. Next, I'll hand it over to Michael to go through some of the numbers.
Thanks, Kendall. So what could be the potential impact of this partnership? Obviously, it's incredibly important. And on the next slide, you'll see a number of, numbers that speak to that. But if there's one thing I want you to take away, it's 3 words: growth, awareness, and purchase intent. In terms of growth, we've seen massively increasing numbers across season-long viewership, mentions on social media, as well as mentions in news media. So there's more and more eyeballs on the NWSL. Second, awareness. Average season-long viewers of around 400,000 and over 500,000 for the championship, over 1 million followers on just the NWSL's page, so that's not including any teams or players that could then go on and share Team of the Week and awards and the like. And finally, similar activations have seen great success, as Mickey mentioned earlier, over 10x boost in engagement with similar partner activations. And finally, potentially most importantly, is purchase intent. 86% of NWSL fans indicated that they have or they will buy a product from a sponsor of the NWSL. And according to Nielsen, there's a 10% increase in purchase intent amongst sports fans when they sponsor a property. And so that means you're going to have folks that want to buy from Coca-Cola and Body Armor, and they're going to want to buy more. Overall, we'd be incredibly excited to welcome Body Armor and Coca-Cola to the NWSL family. Thank you very much for your time, and we'd open the floor for any questions.
So I just want to say thanks again to all the participants. If we can't hear it for them just one more time. So I just want to say a couple other quick thank yous. Thank you again to Sponsor Pulse for helping us to put this together. We would not have been able to do this without them. I also want to say thank you again to our judges who are going to be making a decision here shortly. We're going to be announcing the first place winner tonight at the Alpha Awards. So that'll be in the Bill James room at, I believe, 4:30. And the first place winner is going to be receiving some premium tickets to a sporting event in their home market. So please come by and cheer them on.
I just want to say one thing quick to you guys. That was phenomenal. Regardless and irrespective of winners or any, all three teams did a phenomenal job. We've been in the business a long time. We've seen thousands of like-type presentations from industry people who have been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years, and this stands up with those. So every one of you should be proud of yourselves. What you brought into the story to bring it to life, beyond the data, looking at the brands, the authenticity, the connections that you made in the general market to their target, incredible thinking. So thank you very, very much on behalf of all of us for taking the time to put this together.
Thank you for that, Neil. Yeah, and like I mentioned at the beginning, we've seen a lot of careers that have started right here at First Pitch from candidates coming out of business school. So again, really excited to see what you guys do down the line. Definitely looking forward to staying connected. But again, I just want to say thank you to all of you for attending, and the winners will be announced tonight. If you don't go to the Alpha Awards, you'll see it on our Twitter. But thank you, everybody, for your time, and hope to see you soon.